Funding for the Victory Garden is made possible by public television viewers, the American Rental Association, whose member businesses rent the tools and equipment to build a home, landscape it, grow a garden, and throw a party. Monrovia Nursery Company, producers of container-grown ornamental plants, available at nurseries and garden centers nationwide. And by Grace Sierra Horticultural Products Company, makers of Peter's professional plant foods and potting soils for all your indoor and outdoor gardening needs.
Roger Swain has a rich, full day planned for us today at the Suburban Garden. What's first, Roger?
Bob, it just wouldn't be a summer here at the Suburban Garden without at least one major new project. This year, the inspiration was a bit of construction, a new two-car garage and breezeway connecting to the main house. Here on the south side, the land slopes gently toward the house, and in a heavy rain, it might puddle around my ankles, but for some fine drainage that the architects have put in. Well, I've been left with a generous area to plant, but it is on a grade, and the problem with slopes is erosion. It's a problem that was solved thousands of years ago by terracing. This particular terrace was suggested and designed by our landscape architect, but we built it ourselves. It's made of good old New England field stones. Oh, we've sorted through the rock so that we didn't have too many big round stones. It's well built. I could give you one piece of advice, and that is to save your very biggest rocks, not for the bottom of the pile, but for the top. There's something about big stones set atop a wall that give it a real look of substance, not to mention a fine place to sit. Now, not only is the wall well built, but it's well engineered. It's sloped back at least 6 inches here into the slope. It's retaining a lot of soil after all, and it's 2 stones thick. But its particular grace, I think, comes from its gentle, sinuous, S-shaped curve here. There's so much room to plant that there's a temptation to plant it all up and forget to leave room for access. So I've made sure to leave a good path along the base of the wall here. It's a path for me and also some air drainage so that we have problems with disease, plants leaning up against the wall. And I've also put in a series of shortcuts across the bed. These stones will be a little deeper in their final setting, but I like to cross garden standing on stone, and then I don't have to worry about my big feet compacting the soil unnecessarily. And as for the soil, let me show you what I'm doing to improve it. In general, soils on this part of the country are characterized as shallow, acid, and stony. Now, some of the stones you can't do anything about. Big rocks like this, you leave them and you say they provide landscape interest. The medium-sized rocks that you dig out, you save and use for building stone walls. And the small rocks, well, you wouldn't want to take all the small rocks out because you wouldn't have anything left. The acidity of the soil is naturally about 4.5 or 5 in this garden. To bring it up to 6.5 to 7, we add 25 pounds per 1,000 square feet of ground limestone. Now, ground limestone is just pulverized limestone rock. It doesn't act immediately. It has to neutralize the soil over a period of weeks and months and years. So you'll probably be adding a little ground limestone every year to keep the pH where it should be. Now, as for the depth of the soil, we've trucked in a good bit of topsoil with its rocks and piled it in here. But no topsoil that you buy is ready for planting. To it must be added a lot of organic matter. There are varying sources of organic matter. There's composted cow manure. If you don't have a dairy or horse barn nearby, you can certainly use peat moss, another fine source of organic matter. Add generous amounts of that to the soil. And then, once you've got all the rocks out, just blend those organic materials in as evenly as you can. Remember, there are 4 steps to building a garden. The first is general design, then construction, your walls and your paths, then soil improvement, and finally, well, then you can talk to me about plants. Now, there can be many themes for gardens. Here at the Suburban Garden, we have our wildflower borders and our daylily collections and our alpine beds. But in this case, we thought we'd concentrate on color. I've decided to take this lower bed and make it entirely in purple plants. Well, not all the same shade of purple, but purple and its related hues, indigo and lavender. Atop the wall, I'm going to put in a racing stripe of yellow, made up of a number of different sedums. This one is called the gold moss stonecrop. It's a very tough, hardy plant. It can withstand the drought and the heat between these rocks. It'll spread out, and when it blooms, it'll just be a carpet of bright yellow. Well, for the upper bed, I decided to work around a plant that we already had elsewhere on the property and moved in here, which is this gorgeous Japanese red-leafed maple. A really striking color if there ever was one. Building off that, choosing these red-leafed barberries, nice red tinge, which I think is a nice companion color. They're all container-grown plants, and one of the nice things about containers is that you can set them in the garden temporarily, not right on the surface. I plunge these down so that I can see how the garden is going to look before I actually knock them out and set them for good. To go with that barberry, I've got an aster that's got a surprising amount of red in its leaves too. There's a little tiny, rather insignificant flower down here at the base. I think the leaf is what I'm growing it for. Now, little green, go with the red. Here's a juniper, a really unusual juniper in that it's not particularly spiny. I'm not sure you'd call it soft and comfy, but it certainly is less spiny than many other cultivars. Well, here's a plant that seems to combine equal quantities of both the red and the green. It's a grass called Imperata cylindrica rubra. And again, the beauty of containerized plants is that you can just knock them right out of the pot. And in this beautifully prepared soil that I've got now, I can just stick it right in, fluff up the soil, keep it at the same level, pressing it in well, firming the soil to make sure that there are no voids, creating a slight dike around it for watering. Anytime you're putting new plants in, it's very, very important to make sure that they're well watered in the first weeks and months after they go in till they get their roots out into the parent soil. Well, let me show you some of the other plants we've got here. A couple more conifers and an azalea called Northern Lights. You remember seeing it earlier this spring. Roger Cook was showing it to us. A very hardy strain and a very nice, warm, pink flower that I think will go with the Japanese maple just brilliantly. Now, some of the containerized plants I'm not going to put in until the carpenters are finished. This is a skyrocket juniper. Look at the variations in junipers. This one goes straight up. It's an